just introduce one other story. In my considered opinion, was a big story in the year. Those allegations of bribery made by a member of parliament for Boku Central, Mahama Ayariga, who said that his minority chief whip gave him money, which was alleged to have been given to him by the first deputy speaker of parliament, who also doubles as the chairman of the appointments committee of parliament, Jose Wusu. And this money is supposed to have come from the then nominee or energy minister designate, Boache Jakun. We know what transpired. I think a large chunk of the story broke on your show, on News File. I was lucky to be a guest with Efia and then Paul. How did that story play out for you in the year? And do you agree with me it was one of the major stories?
Of course it was. And you don't also forget that.
You were a lawyer in those cases. Okay.
I played a role in there. Now, I'll briefly make some statements about the minority and then dovetail it into that bit. All of that, you know, from the beginning.
You can lift your veil of ignorance.
You see, the minority is beginning to do what you will expect of a vibrant opposition in the House that is also supposed to help the citizens to hold the government in check.
Some say they are being disruptive.
There have been times they have been unnecessarily petty for political purposes, and obviously, in the end, I don't think that it wins them any goodwill. They've been very petty on some of the issues, starting with the vetting processes. The manner in which they wanted to use the vetting, for example, to cower, you know, somebody like Otiko Afisa Jaba. Okay, look, this is a woman who spoke her mind. This is a woman who told you how confident she was about what she was about, and the fact that she's a strong woman, you don't like her or what? And then it plays out there.
Even to the point of using her haircut against
she stands her ground, okay? And I think we ought to salute her for that.
Even went to court.
And even some women felt that, she was being, you know, arrogant, being, behaving in ways that a woman should not be seen
Very
to.
typical, stereotypic.
You know, and trying to pull her down. I'm like, seriously? What are we talking about? What are we teaching our children? What are we teaching our girls? And you see how that plays out? We are in a hurry and quickly put something together and head to the court to hit her. Unfortunately, on a technical ground, you know, that's
matter is
thrown out in such a miserable way. If you take the national service, you know, scheme, look, all of us are in breach of that scheme. I wrote about that as well. Was one of my takes. All of us are in breach of the scheme. There's a mandatory, you know, requirement for a training in military.
Nobody does that.
We are not paying attention to change our laws. We are not paying attention. You know, various aspects of it, we breach it. Because a woman who is very critical of the opposition has allegedly breached a portion of it. Look at us.
And what Samson is talking about is the fact that Otiko Jaba did not do her national service. And I think Clementa Park and others went to court saying that she should be removed as a minister because...
Yeah, there are two other
because
MPs, Akando and one other, not Clementa Park.
Because she breached the law by... She breached the national service law by failing to do her national service.
And within the same group, you had people who also had the favors that the National Service Board is allowed to do for people who didn't do their service. Same favors were done for them before they were appointed to become ministers. And you ask yourself, what hypocrisy is this? And how petty can you get? Okay, how petty, really petty can you get? Now,
but you were lauding them. Can you conclude on that? It's only fair. You lauded them for standing up and acting in a manner which you think, or vibrant minorities
yes.
and opposition should have.
I was just mentioning that as one of the most petty aspects of what they had to do for political gain, which is unnecessary. And then you bring us to the focus of the Zayari Gate.
Yes, well,
where Boache Jacko was alleged to have, done some things untoward. And those of us who were involved, the speaker issued, a gagging order that we're not supposed to be here to speak about, even though I was not a member of parliament. I am not a member of parliament. I went there to do my job as a lawyer. Jogate reminded me that, that gagging order applies to me. I disagreed with him, but I didn't want to say that before him. Now, that's, for me, how it panned out. And you would say I have my bias because I went to represent a client who in the end was found not to have done what was claimed by his colleague members of the minority. I cannot speak to what I don't know. I can only speak to what I know.
What do you think happened?
Right.
What his clients told you?
Big question.
What my client told me, I am not at liberty to tell you. So, in my role as a journalist, there is information that came to us. Of course, you said it on my show. Yes. On my show, certain things happened.
Yes, I was on the show.
Yes, people swore on my show, swore by the Quran and the Bible on my show. So
and you're talking about Mutakamu Barak, minority chief.
So there is something I'm aware of, beyond what my client had to deal with me on. It would appear that something had exchanged hands. Okay?
Is it a goat?
No, hold on.
Because he says something had exchanged hands.
Something had exchanged hands. Mm-hmm. And clearly, the minority was in the knowledge that that was for them, for their sitting allowances. That's what they had come out to allege. The unfortunate part, though, was that in the proceedings, you didn't have any
evidence,
as it were, incontrovertible evidence to that regard, because what they were alleging was crime. And if you have to prove crime, the burden is heavy.
The bar is high.
You don't just come and say, I heard somebody say this and I heard the other person say that, so I returned my money. And you have no evidence of returning the money. You have no evidence in the first place of receiving the money. Okay? And you have no evidence of returning the money. So, how on earth do you want a parliamentary committee to believe you and to hold in your favor?
And to come to a determination other than what they came to?
The public sought to crucify, Parliament, the committee, the Jogate committee, for finding as it did. There was no evidence. There was no evidence for what the claims that were made. But what I am saying is that on the side of speaking to those who were making the allegations and, others within that fraternity, it would seem as if it is difficult to find that all of them will agree to tell a lie, except that they would have received something but may have decided to use it or to make a wrong allegation about it.
For political gain or for some other gain.
Yes, because look, the government had, their government, had come under such a huge accusation of being so corrupt. And so starting the Akufo-Addo alleged incorruptible, government, they would need to begin on a note where people will begin to feel that, well, these people it's not exactly correct that they are not corrupt or that they cannot be corrupted as they say. So by speaking to them for my job on this platform, you would discover that there were a good number of them that could tell you that I received something. Ask them, who did they get it from? And amongst they who were making the allegations, they couldn't be categorical on who gave it to them. Okay.
Amazing. And yes, this is happening in Parliament. So, these are members of Parliament.
So in the end, this was my conclusion, that there was some money given to them. even though they felt it was their allowances, and we got to know that the allowances are not given in that manner.
Absolutely.
That in that parliament, they do all sorts of jobs, and people get to come and give them some handouts, so to speak. Something of the nature appeared to have happened. It didn't come from Ejako. And yet, they tried to say it was coming from him. Wow. And they were wrong on that. It didn't come from Muntaka transmitting that to them. And also on the note that you are receiving this so that you can pass a man that you are refusing to pass. And being offered at a point where the man
had been passed already
anyway.
So there was no motivation for him to pay any monies to be passed.
Right. So I got to know that, speaking to some of them, I got to know that, look, there are times they can do things and people who are around and can afford can say you have been sitting here for too long. Maybe this can take care of your lunch. Okay? Somebody may have done it for them. But it didn't come from Ejako. And it was not rooted to Muntaka for the purposes of passing.
Shamima, was this a poorly reasoned attempt to nail someone as they tried in the Otiko Jabas case, taking a cue from what Samson said and Samson's submission, which went bad?
Absolutely. You see, the greatest challenge for any minority is how to navigate the path of staying relevant and becoming an irritation, you know, and by so doing, make yourself irrelevant. And everybody in a position of responsibility must know when to speak, how to speak, where to speak, and what to say. They are cardinal principles. You're in a position of responsibility. You cannot afford, and you are a member of parliament or you're members of parliament. You can't be seen to be engaging in, you know, chop bar, beer bar kinds of, you know, yes,
isn't that rather harsh?
Conversations. Well, the consequence of those actions we all live to see. Would it not have been good to have avoided the entire debacle? Because if it comes to the corruptibility of parliament, this is not the first instance that the issue of parliament being bribed has come up.
In fact, Kofi Bantu says there's a culture of money collection in the house.
Several people. I used to work with an NGO. We dealt with parliament. Several institutions that have worked with parliament know that somehow you have to spend money to get MPs to do the things that even build their own capacity and core competency to be able to be good lawmakers. PCRP Ofori made similar allegations under Kufuor's tenure.
Alban Bagbin,
majority leader, minority leader,
second
one
deputy
of the
speaker of
oldest
parliament
MPs,
currently,
had cause to make some of these allegations. So whether it's real or perceived, parliamentarians and parliament as an institution knows that in the minds of the average Ghanaian, we know that we cannot vouch for their incorruptibility.
If you reported from parliament, this claim that parliament has a culture of money collection, that it is when the president makes nominations, that it is the practice for nominees to raise money and give to members of the appointments committee. And this practice is known, is well established. It's been done over every president, from the Kufuor time to Mills to Mahama to Nanado, that it is the practice that when the list is sent on a daily basis, the people who have to appear before the appointments committee, they have to bring some money which is lumped up and shared amongst the members of the appointments committee of parliament.
I wish that this were one of the occasions when I'll quote Dr. Baumia to say that you and I were not there. But this one, we were there. I think that every journalist who's reported in parliament is aware of this practice.
Wow.
MPs
it's notorious.
They know. To the extent of what Shamima said, NGOs, institutions, departments, agencies, even government agencies that have to say GMPC or MPA, or that is formulating, if a committee is looking at a bill, they all pay.
The National Lottery Authority had to pay some 50,000 Ghana cedis.
When you are drafting a law and you have to take the select committee on that to say Kofodia to Kumasi, you pay. You pay for the hotel, you pay for everything, and you pay the allowance for staying there. So there's no way any member of parliament would deny this. I think this issue was about motive or intent. The intent Honorable Ayariga had in making those claims. And I'm a little disappointed in him as a lawyer. Everything that Samson spoke about, Honorable Ayariga is aware. He too is a lawyer.
Do you think he spoke as a politician rather than the lawyer? I think
he said it as a politician, but it doesn't take away from the fact that he's a learned member. He's a learned man. He's a lawyer, and he ought to know that, yes, you're doing politics, but what is your motive in making such allegation against your own leadership and against people on the other side? His intention, to me, in my respectful opinion, is just to jab the opposition and jab government, because we're a new one.
Did he misjudge the reaction of Boakye Jaku, who then cascaded into the probe and all of that?
I don't think it's an issue of misjudging Honorable Ejaku. For him at the time, that's why I said, because in my humble opinion,
politicians throw these allegations against each other, and normally it just ends there. They talk about it, and then it ends there.
I think that he didn't even anticipate the reaction of Honorable Ejaku.
Absolutely, the Honorable Ejaku
was not his target. I think, in my respectful opinion,
this was not one of those that you let lie, and I actually felt that Joe Wise, when he initially issued the threat that he was going to sue, I felt he should have done that. Because, you see, that is where the strictest proof would have been, sought and obtained. Because as we speak, there are still people who have doubts about what exactly, went on at the committee level. A court process would have done the painstaking job of analyzing, A
lawyer, why would anybody want to take themselves through this vigorous exercise of time? It was, for me, it would have been unnecessary for Honorable Joe Wise to endure and waste money in a court process to prove his innocence, because any ordinary first-year law student will know that this is an allegation that will not hold water. It will not fly. As a member of parliament, how do you make an allegation of money changing hands when you yourself, like you said, you don't have any evidence of taking the money? Okay, when the money was given to you, did you even take a photo of the envelope? Did you open the envelope? Is there a video showing you opening the envelope, or seeing the content of the envelope? Is there any evidence that shows you returning the money? Those who came to,
why I'm saying he may have misjudged the reaction.
I don't think he misjudged.
Because if Boakye Jaku had not been angry, if Joe Wise had not been angry,
why wouldn't
I'm sure these would have been.
Malik, you
know that they throw about these allegations against each other all the time.
If you study these political allegations, you would realize that often when they make them, they don't even think about the reaction. Else, they would not do or make the allegations they make. They would anticipate certain things and answer the questions that come along with it even before they make the allegations. But they don't anticipate. I disagree.
Why I thought that suing would have been necessary in that particular case is that Parliament appeared to have been investigating itself somewhat. And
before this incident?
In this incident, you see, so that gave room for people to have doubts whether they can do a good job about themselves, okay? Because if there was an independent party, so to speak, that had to do the job, maybe Shraj, then you could say that they are disinterested. But this is Parliament investigating its own. I'm not saying it's not done, but a third party, neutral, so to speak, impartial, umpire, taking them through this process would have given a more sort of formidable, believable, and cut out this mistrust that is still being exhibited.
But what would be the motivation of Honorable Joe Osei to pursue such an expensive venture?
I say that a man's name is all he has got, just like the Bible says.
Especially a man who has ambition,
right?
As we are told,
right? As we speak, as we speak, is it Carlos Ahinkra, what has he not said about Okujeto that you can tell they are spurious allegations, they are unfounded? He says he's apologized to him, but Okujeto still says he wants to sue. Okay, this is the kind of note where you may say, well, there's no need because he's already apologized. Okujeto should let it go because he has apologized. But he still insists.
But the words were pretty hard.
He has a right to insist that he's going to court.
Yes.
Or not.
But you know, sometimes you have to measure your right against what exactly has happened. When someone comes with a reconciliatory, you know, attitude, you don't still run to court. Sometimes I don't think you still have to do that. It is the reason some of us, for example, before we sue, we ensure that we have exhausted the opportunity to resolve the matter. Okay, and that may be part of my bias because of my other training in ADR, because you believe that, and our court is virtually going to that direction where we are doing what we call the court-connected ADR. People bring cases to court, and you find that, oh, their family or their matters are matters that can be resolved without going through the litigation process.
So use alternative
that will leave you as
resolution.
enemies, because when you finish litigation, you hardly can be friends any longer. And again, look at what he said. Was he angry? Were they vituperations? Did he not say them because he was angry? Did he not say them because you angered him and he felt like just saying anything in the moment of his anger? Now, when he goes and he sobers and he comes to say, I'm sorry, let it go, I think he should.
But your reputation, you yourself said all a man has is his reputation.
You know,
so no matter the level of remorse that you show,
if you admit that what I have said
reputation
is untrue, what I have said is wrong, is untrue, why are you saying
the damage
again?
is repaired?
Yes, the damage is repaired.
Not exactly.
But the point is that, you see, when you're also in public office, when you're in public office, you need to also be, you know, magnanimous,
right.
Because tomorrow the tables might turn, and you might be in a similar situation.
And you're absolutely right. I remember himself, Ablakwa himself, in 2009, when he held a press conference and listed a number of Kufuor ministers who had just left office and said these are the criminals and gangsters who have stolen government vehicles. It turns out that some of the people on the list didn't take any government vehicle. So, Shamima, you have a point there. But you're watching Joy News channel on Multi TV, which is also on DSTV channel 421. This is on Joy FM, Joy 99.7 FM. This is the year in review. My guests are I'll use the late again. If JoyNews editor, Samson Ladi Anyanini, lawyer, journalist, show host, newsfile show host, and of course, Shamima Muslim Alhassan. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we will continue with the rest of the stories that dominated the headlines. Keep watching and listening. We will be back.